You're listening to the Law of Attraction Radio Network.
The secret to well-being is discovering the power that is your birthright, the power to create a happier, healthier life, drawn from our own vast internal resources. Join Jules and her guests as they gently guide you to shift your perspective from the familiar negative to the divinely connected, a place that will not only positively impact your world, but possibly shift the planet. It's all right here on Law of Attraction Talk Radio.
Well, welcome to Law of Attraction Talk Radio. I am so happy you could be with me because we have got a great show. Have you ever heard of this fantastic author who's written so many books called D.L. Kline? Well, he's got the spirit guide called Jasper. And Jasper has all of this really, really powerful messages for all of us to hear. And tonight, D.L. Kline and Jasper will be with us. And I'm so excited. I can just, the energy is just fantastic. I can feel it already. So we're going to have a great show. And never doubt that the show you are listening to has a particular message for you and what you're going through at this particular moment. Be it good, bad, or miserable, or whatever, the message is for you. So I think you're going to really get a lot out of this. And I am just so happy to be bringing Jasper through D.L. Kline. So get a cool beverage, relax, sit back. We're off to a great show.
It's here, it's hot, and it's a must read. It's the science behind the Law of Attraction magazine. Every issue brings you great articles and in-depth how-tos from all your favorite Law of Attraction experts, authors, scientists, and medical professionals. Go to lawofattractionmagazine.net. That's lawofattractionmagazine.net.
Did you know that every human uses only a small portion of their powerful mind? Jules Johnson, international certified hypnotherapist, wants to introduce you to your powerful mind in order to create your dream life. In as little as one session, Jules guides you into releasing limiting beliefs that keep you from achieving wealth, health, better relationships, and even true love. Schedule a session in Palm Springs or set up a Skype video session for those nationally and internationally. Jules would love to serve as your guide into living your dreams. Go to creativeguidedimagery.com or call 951-201-2166. That's creativeguidedimagery.com.
You're listening to the Law of Attraction Radio Network, heard by millions worldwide through 38 internet radio stations and in over 135 countries. Be sure to sign up for your monthly updates and get all the latest information on LOA radio events such as cruises, workshops, and seminars, as well as information on the latest shows, topics, and guests. Go to LOARadionetwork.com and sign up today.
Okay.
Well, welcome, D.L. Kline, Dave, to Law of Attraction Talk Radio. I am so excited to meet both of you. I just have to say it was the best article in the world that's in this issue of Law of Attraction magazine. You really, you can feel Jasper through your words.
Thank you for having me. Yes, he's always in my words.
It's very, very powerful. So will you tell us the story on how you came to know this wonderful non-physical entity known as Jasper?
I certainly will. It all happened about 7 years ago. I was doing, I'd always been interested in doing past life regressions, but just hadn't gotten around to it. So I was doing past life regressions with a local psychic here who became a good friend of mine. And we got to the end of one life, and she said, there's an energy here. And I said, well, what do you think that is? And she said, well, he says he's your spirit guide, and his name is Jasper, and he's going to be with us from now on. At that time, I didn't know too much about spirit guides, but I said, okay, whatever, sounds good to me. So, but unfortunately, the session was over at that time. So that when we came back for the next session, he was there, introduced himself, started his teaching, shall we say. He said he could show us another dimension. And I said to Barbara, what does that mean? And she said, I have no idea. I've never heard that before. So he showed us a viewing screen with it was like a woodland scene with dragonflies and fairies, and it just looked amazing. And he let us look at it for a few seconds, and then that was it. He wouldn't let us see anymore. And he said, that's for later. So actually it took about 7 years of later till we found out that was one of the incarnations of the Earth. The Earth has had 5 incarnations. Scientists call it 5 extinctions events, but it's really 5 incarnations of the Earth.
Wow.
And that was one of them. And when the Earth reaches the perfection of its incarnation, then it starts another one. So we're currently on the 5th incarnation. That's where we are today. But anyway, since then, Jasper has been, at first he wasn't real clear in my mind. I thought he looked like the guy on the Little Caesars pizza box. And then as time went by, he got clearer and clearer and turned into this.
The picture right there.
Painted by a friend of mine. And he has been teaching me and showing me the ways of the universe for the last 7 years. And at times I don't know where I end and he starts. And I really couldn't imagine not having him around anymore, because he's always good for a laugh, if nothing else.
So you don't feel him physically, but explain how you are getting the information, because it's different from channeled information. Would you agree with that?
I would agree. He's not, I've seen many great channelers like Esther Hicks and, people like that do great channeling jobs, but he is not. It's like he's always there. And like he often reflects back what I'm feeling. If I'm feeling happy, he'll reflect joy. If I'm feeling sad, he'll reflect sad, because that's his job, he says. But he just, if I have a question or I want to know something, he's just there. He's just in my head. And when I still have sessions with my friend Barb every other week, and he's always there and always talking to us, and her guide is there and talking to us, and people drop in and talk to us. Really, it sounds like we're insane, but we're not.
Having a great big party.
We're having a great big party.
Wow.
So at his suggestion, as he was teaching me things, he thought it would be a good idea if I wrote them down. So I started writing, which I never had any inclination to do. And 8 books later, here we are. I've written 8 books about all the things he's taught me, all the things I've gone through, and with the hope that other people will read them and say, that sounds like my life. That sounds like something I could use to improve my life.
So he's just in your mind. He's always there. So it's not like you're turning him on and off. Like that's what a channel does, right?
Right. When Esther channels Abraham, he comes and goes. Well, Jasper doesn't come and go.
Wow.
At the beginning, I had to set down some ground rules, because he would wake me up at 2:00 in the morning just to emphasize something he was trying to teach me. So I had to say, you got to let me sleep, buddy. We can't do this. Contact me in business hours. So we've gotten that far.
Wow. Well, that's good. Yeah. Business hours. Yeah. I can understand that. Now he looks a little bit like you.
He does. Well, he is me. He's the part of me that stays on the other side while I incarnate.
Okay, so can you go into that a little bit? He's on the other side, behind the veil.
Correct.
He's lived a life,
No,
He hasn't lived a
he
life.
has not lived a life.
He is simply a spirit that is your guide.
He is the part of me that stays behind while I incarnate. He's told me we only bring about 10% of our intellect with us when we come here. That's why he thinks I'm so stupid. But 90% of us stays on the other side and is there to, they hold on to our life plan and try to guide us when we're listening. Sometimes we don't listen. Most of the times we don't listen. But they have the plan of what we just wanted to accomplish in this life, and they're trying to guide us in that. Everybody has a spirit guide. You may call them guardian angels. You may call them intuition. You may call them gut feeling. You may call them anything you want. But they're the other part of you that stays on the other side, and they're your spirit guide.
Okay, so they're connecting you to your spiritual side.
Correct. They connect you to basically the universe. They're your connection.
I love that. I love that. That just feels good to me. So he is your director. He is helping you to understand how to process this life. Would you say that's true?
He is helping me to understand how to process this life, but actually just recently I learned this. He does not direct me. I have to direct him.
Interesting.
It's my emotions that direct him to bring to me what I want. If I'm feeling good, I'm feeling joy about something that's coming up, then it feels right. People say it feels right. It feels right because that energy is coming from your spirit guide. That is the right thing to do.
Wow. This is fascinating. This is really fascinating. And I've talked to a lot of people who channel, but this is so different. And it's like, okay, can everybody have a spirit guide, or do they just won't let them through?
Yes. Everybody
That's
has
it?
a spirit guide. And you have, but a lot of people can't. And this is another thing I learned recently. I'm still learning. I'm always learning. Sometimes you don't feel worthy of having a spirit guide. It's a lot of self-worth issues. It's a lot of unconditional love of self issues. And if you don't have that, you don't feel you're worthy to have somebody like him, then you're not going to. You have to allow and believe and trust that they are there before you can even start to build a relationship with them.
Oh, okay. So you have to trust first that there is a spirit guide willing to guide you, but you have to let them. You have to trust. You have to let go of the ego, I would say.
Right. You have to realize that there's something so much bigger than you that you can have access to if you allow yourself to have access to.
Oh, wow. That's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so now Jasper comes to you any time of the day except for 2:00 in the morning because he's learned his lesson.
Right.
And and he brings you messages for what you're dealing with, or for just new things to learn. Can you give us an example of a new thing that you just learned from him?
Yes, I will. And it's in this book. I wrote this up. I was fighting meditation. I didn't want to do it. I thought it was dumb. I thought, how do you blank your mind? That's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. Your mind is there to think. You can't blank your mind. And I kept hearing from him, why don't you just grow up and do what you're supposed to do? Ooh. So we went back and forth until finally, he's always right. I don't know why I just don't give in at the beginning, because he's always right. It's so annoying. He's always right. But eventually we got to a point where I understood that meditation wasn't about sitting in a crouch somewhere chanting om, om, om. That's not what meditation is about. If that works for you, that's great. But what it is self-hypnosis that lets your mind open to basically the knowledge of the universe, which is what he carries with him. So that was a few months. I even invented something about, let's call it recent me time, where I just sit with my eyes closed and relax. No, you're not getting it. You're not getting it. So it was him that instructed me on how to actually meditate, which I now do every day. And it helps me immeasurably to relax and actually get in touch with him.
Okay. So he's connecting with you through meditation. So it is difficult with meditation. I mean, how do you blank out your mind?
Exactly. I had no idea. And I think a lot of people don't know.
Yeah. Now you tell me, how'd you do it? How did you blank it out?
Well, I developed a little method for doing this it's breathing, concentrating on breathing and relaxing your body. And if anything comes into your mind that you don't want to be there, just say stop, or, anything to just stop it from coming in there. And eventually you get to and the other part is, I don't think people know exactly what it feels like to be in a good meditative state. And what I would compare it to is like the minute right before you fall asleep, when you're so relaxed and so calm and you're just ready to fall asleep. That's what meditation feels like to me. So when you get to that point and you can hold on to that point for any amount of time. I mean, I know there's people that meditate for hours on end in a darkened room, and that's great. If you can do it, if you have the time to do it, but most of us have lives.
Yeah.
So I tried to compress it down to 10 to 15 minutes a day, and it works. It works for me.
And that's the time that he really comes to you and talks to you.
Yeah, because I've established that time as, I call it, our board meeting. As I'm meditating and I'm getting to the end of what I think should be the time allotted for meditation, I have a little board meeting and I call him in and we talk. And that's when we communicate a lot. And
that's where you get your information for the books.
Yes, I get them. It all comes basically from him and from when I have sessions with my friend Barb, the psychic medium. A lot of the information comes through there because we're both learning, as we go, basically.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Wow. So he will answer questions about what's going on in how things or why things are happening. He's changing your perception on reality, on what's really going on. Okay.
That's exactly it.
So can I just ask a question? Right now, there's so much chaos going on. He can actually help you to understand the reason behind it. And I'm going to assume that there's a good reason for it.
Yeah.
I would hope to think that there's a good reason for all this stupidity going on right now.
Yeah, there is. And, the main message from him and all his friends is it's going to be okay. It's all going to be okay. It's all for a reason. It's all for purpose. We're I mentioned the incarnations of the earth before.
Right.
Sort of phasing into a semi-new incarnation. The energy was filled with fear and hatred and anger. And it was basically interfering with our game. If I heard this once, I've heard this 10,000 times. We're here to play a game. We're all playing our personal games. And the atmosphere that has existed up till now was interfering with a lot of people's games. So the collective knowledge of the universe decided it was time for a change, and that they changed things. I even asked, well, is this a gradual change? Are we going to have time to get used to things? And he said, no, we like to compare it to pulling off the Band-Aid.
Ouch.
So that's why things seem so bad right now and so fraught with whatever you care to call it. But it's all meant to be. In fact, it's already done. It's already done. It's just we have to live through it, get through it, to get to the other side to start playing our games again the way we want to.
Okay, so let me just grasp this because it's really powerful thing. We had to rip off the Band-Aid, and that is what we are experiencing, this chaos for a reason. And even though it's going to be okay, it doesn't seem like it's going to be okay.
Exactly. So his tip or his teaching for right now is to not focus on that reality. That's one reality. but you don't have to focus on that reality. Focus on another reality. Focus on the reality of when this is all over. Those people are still going to be doing what they do and doing what they want to do, but that doesn't have to be your reality. You can have your own reality. So just don't look at it, which is not easy to do.
Yeah, because there's a whole bunch of things, pedophilia and things like that. So how exactly can you not pay attention to that when there's children being harmed?
Mm-hmm. Well, this is what helps me. I mean, of course, that bothers any person with any type of feelings.
Yeah.
But, we all write our own life plan. And as strange as it sounds, people write a life plan that includes that because they want to experience that. And Jasper's told me this also thousands of times to get it through he calls it my puny little mind, puny human mind. We may think who would choose that? Who would choose to be abused as a child? Who would choose to have cancer? Who would choose to be murdered? Who would choose that? And he said, well, lots of people choose that. That's like you're on the other side and you're thinking, well, there's something I haven't done. Let me do that this life. That'll be great. It'll be fun. It's a game. So.
Oh, kind of like Wild Wild West.
Yeah. So it takes a long time. Believe me, it takes a long time to wrap your head around that one. But once you do, then things start to make sense.
Okay. So we don't have to take it personally. I think our own ego is identifying with some of that abuse.
Yeah.
So we're taking it upon ourselves. And that's what Jasper is saying. It's their plan.
Right.
You don't have to take it upon
yourself. You don't have to live their plan. They are living their plan, and their plan may seem weird to you. It may seem horrible to you, but it's their plan. So you have to let them live it.
So there's no point in rescuing them.
Pretty much. They've chosen that, and the other thing I still haven't really wrapped my head around is they choose the person that is going to victimize them just because they trust them on the other side. They trust them and they love them so much on the other side. They ask them to do this for them, and they have so much love, so much unconditional love for each other. They act out this scenario together. And that's another thing that's hard to wrap your head around, but it's just the way it is. There will always be poor people among you because people that are coming in, souls that are coming in at that level want to experience that. Those of us that have reached this level have lived through that level. We don't want to do that anymore. So now we're doing this. We're focusing on our spirituality instead of having to worry about where we're going to get water tomorrow. It's all a choice. It's all your choice. It's all free will.
So even getting that water could be a spiritual experience as well. And that's what they're teaching them in other lands.
Right.
Interesting. So we incarnate many, many times.
Many, hundreds, thousands.
Really?
Yeah.
And it's just a game.
It's just a game.
So we come here hoping to have a good time. I want to have a good time.
If we plan to, but we always have free will. And one of the things Jasper said numerous times, he's, because I'm so dense, he says lots of things numerous times, but he said, think about going to an amusement park. It's up to you whether you want to go to the amusement park and ride the rides and eat all the junk food and be happy and go home, or you can go to the amusement park and sit on the bench and watch everybody walk by. It's your choice. You have free will. This is your life. You planned it. You live it.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
That is true. Okay. So we're choosing everything. We're taking life way too seriously. Is that the point?
Exactly. And if you listen to Abraham Hicks, which I do because I admire the things he says, he always says, be happy. Be happy. That's all you have to do. Be happy. Have joy in what you do. The message comes down to that. All you have to do is be happy.
And if you're happy, then you're changing your vibration.
Exactly.
And you're uplifting everything, not only you, but everything around you.
Right.
Now, Abraham Hicks talks about manifesting your desires. Does Jasper do that as well?
Well, in a way, yeah. When you get into reading about all the big, I guess you call them big names, Abraham Hicks and Wayne Dyer and all those big names, when you get far enough along, you realize they're all really saying the same thing. Right. And this is how Jasper relates to it. If I tell him, well, I'd really like to move somewhere, just let it at that. I just want to move. Then if I'm happy about that, if I'm joyful about moving and I really want it, then he reflects that back to me. And then I know it's the right thing. If I feel the joy in the decision I've made, then he lets me know that, yeah, it was the right decision. And believe me, I made a lot of wrong decisions along the way. But if before I met him, but it's the same thing as manifesting, I think, the way I think about manifesting, as Abraham Hicks talks about it, I think it's the same thing. If you use your spirit guide the way they're supposed to be used, then they will bring you whatever it is you most desire, or whatever's in your life plan that you most desire.
And here Jasper brought you all these books.
Yes.
And that wasn't part of your game plan, was it?
Not in the least. And Jasper brought me you, because I had, you probably don't know, but when you write, when you self-publish books, you get a lot of stuff from companies that, oh yes, we'll do marketing and we'll do blah, blah, just send us money. And usually I ignore them. But when yours came up, he said, look at this one. And I looked at it and here we are.
Thank you, Jasper.
That's what I said. Thank you.
That's a great testimonial. I'll take it.
Yeah.
And well, the article you wrote was so wonderful, but we're going to be able to get another dose of that in the January issue. And I'm so excited. So let me ask you now, Jasper, he is a spirit guide. He's on the other side. So is that the side that we go to after we die?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay.
And he's waiting there till I get back so we can start planning the next life.
Oh, is that how it works?
Yes, he can't wait because he's there holding a list of everything I did stupid and said that I would do and didn't do. And he's going to say, okay, this is this time, because he's told me that several times. You've been carrying this around in a backpack for the last 10 lives. It's time to work on this. So then we do. Even though I don't want to, we do.
Yeah. Now you have got a picture of Jasper behind you.
Yes.
And it looks a bit like you, but I would like to know, how do you know? Do you have that picture in your mind's eye? How did the artist know?
This artist is, we linked through Barb, my friend Barb. And she's a young lady that she does amazing artwork. Her name is Stephanie Regal, sorry. And she started to do paintings of spirit guides. So I said to her, okay, do one of Jasper, because she knew of Jasper because Barb would talk about it, and she'd read some of my other books. And I said, and I didn't tell her anything else. I said, just do one of Jasper and see how it comes out. So he started to inhabit her head, which I felt very bad that she did that. She had to go through that, but she didn't mind. And he told her exactly what to draw. I didn't tell her what I thought he looked like, or that we had the same green eyes or anything. And she put all this detail in, which you can't really see, but maybe you can see in the magazine.
Yeah.
But in that chest of drawers behind him is part of all the different costumes he wears. But on top of it is a book that says life plan, just to let me know that he's holding my life plan. And then
And
around
it's your life plan.
my life plan,
Holy cow.
he's holding it to make sure I do what I said I was going to do. Across the top, there's spotlights because he loves to be in the spotlight. And on the other side, you can see some more of his costumes. And then you can't really see it, but those chairs behind him, there's one on the end that says Dazed and Confused. He says, that's my chair when I come back. I sit in the Dazed and Confused chair. And everybody else sits in the regular chairs. And in his pocket is money.
Yeah.
So he's waiting to, we sell a few more books so he can bring some money to me.
I see. So he even helps you in the money department.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow. So, I mean, he just looks so wonderful. I'm sure he's appreciating that, but
he's loving it. He loves to be the center of attention.
oh yeah, that's right. I read that. Yeah, I just feel like I know him. He's got this good vibration. It's just like, wow, very, very wonderful. When I first saw this picture, I knew this is real. This is not a fantasy. This is real. Yeah. He is just the epitome of the other side. Oh, wow. So each of us has a spirit guide.
They do. I mean, everybody does. Yeah.
Everybody does.
Everybody does. And bringing all this out, people may think I'm crazy. That's fine. I don't care. But, what I want to impress on everybody is you can have this. You can have what I have. I'm not any different than anybody else. I'm just a regular schmuck that goes to work every day. And, you can have this. And hopefully through my books, you can learn how to have this.
That's important. That's important because why wouldn't we want to have somebody like that? Somebody that can actually guide. And I think we get those messages, but we don't trust it.
Yes, exactly. They're all the time. They're trying to scream in your ear, don't do that or do that. And sometimes you listen and sometimes you don't. But when you can connect yourself, it's much easier to hear them say, don't do that. You may do it anyway, but they'll tell you, please don't do that.
So do we have more than one guide?
Well, I think initially I saw 6.
Really?
Yeah. And eventually they whittled themselves down to him. So I think before you incarnate, you decide what is going to make the most sense to you at the time. And at the time, I needed to see 6 of them. And then eventually it came down to just seeing him all the time. So I think it's all decided before you come. Like we decided before I came in what his personality was going to be, because he knew and I knew that I have this Pennsylvania Dutch hardhead that I wouldn't pay any attention unless he actually came up and slapped me and said, pay attention. So he's a little bit on the tough love side, but it's the way we planned it. So it's worked out. And
it's the way that you could get the message.
Right. Now, some other people, my friend Barb, her guide's name is Ella, and she's very quiet, very soft-spoken, very just like a really wise person, doesn't get emotional, doesn't, never calls Barb a dunce like he calls me a dunce. But they planned that too. So, it's sort of like a yin and yang thing, you're fitting together and what fits best with you.
So he is helping to guide you to get you to where you want to be, which the reason why you came here. He is helping you to get and fulfill that purpose.
Fulfill that life plan so that I don't, once you work through these things, then you don't have to do it again. So we're trying to work through these things so I don't have to do it again in the next life, so we can do something different, play a different game, have more fun.
Oh, wow. Boy, so can we start dreaming now of the next life?
Yeah, sure. I mean, they're keeping track, because because lots of times I'll say to him, okay, write this down. I want to do this next time. And
Yeah.
he's keeping track, I'm sure.
Oh, interesting. Now, do we have a guide that's like, for me, would it be female or would it be a Native American or what?
It doesn't really matter. They are what you want them to be.
I
Is
see.
basically it. And they don't care what you call them. If you know of Sylvia Brown,
Yeah.
she's another one of my heroes. When she was a teenager and first saw her spirit guide, she didn't like the name, so she just changed the name to Francine. You know, they don't care. They really don't care. They're just here for you and to help you along.
So how can we connect with them?
Well, first, go ahead.
Well, we know through meditation, but that's the only way. How do we improve our awareness?
Well, that's the first step, is admitting and believing and trusting that they're there. And sometimes a psychically connected person can help you by like, sometimes I can see people's guides. Jasper lets me see them.
Wow.
And for you, I do see a woman for you.
Really?
She's sort of like, you know, that Disney princess that's Scottish?
Oh.
What's her name? I forget her name. Anyway, with the red hair and a lot of tartan, a lot of sword. And sometimes when they're carrying swords, it means, you know, you like to go out there and do your own thing, live your own life, make your own direction.
That nailed it. Yeah, interesting. I was just looking at pictures of women with red hair.
Yeah, that's her. Melinda. She says her name's Melinda.
Oh.
You know, I think it helps to have like an idea of what they might look like and a name. It just helps with the connection.
I just got tingles down my back.
Especially in the early time, you know, the early stages of connecting. It helps to know a name.
Ooh, yeah, that feels right. That feels right. Okay. That's good. So just by talking to you, I have this connection now. I can feel something.
Good. That's great.
Wow, this is so much fun. So you've got all of these books that have Jasper's thoughts that you dictated.
Yeah, that he dictated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah. In fact, I wrote a whole book about talking and working with your guides. It's called Guide Speak. And it was 2 or 3 books ago. And it was all about him and how we interact and how to do that for yourself.
So you have all of your books on Amazon?
Correct.
So they could go to D.L. Kline, that's Kline.
Yes.
And they can pick out a book. We start at the beginning and go through all 8, or what do you recommend?
Well, you don't really have to. You could pick out something that interests you. This latest one, Simple Spirituality, is just kind of an overview of everything. And I wrote some in there about the current situation, which the other side is calling a hiccup. And, you know, we're here living through it. It's not a hiccup. You know, on the grand timeline of eternity, it's a hiccup. And, you know, and they're saying it'll pass, like everything else will pass. And
it will pass.
Yep.
And everything's going to be fine.
Everything's going to be fine.
And just relax about it.
Exactly.
And focus in on the spiritual principles.
Right.
You can't go wrong.
Now, Jasper likes to use old TV shows and movies, and, you know, he loves to dress up. So recently he was showing me, you're probably not old enough to remember, but I am, like the Jack Benny show and the George Burns show. Those early sitcoms, you know, they would be interacting with the cast, but then they would stop and turn and look at the camera and say something funny. So, and that was called breaking the fourth wall. And he said, that's what you need to do. Break the fourth wall. You're so focused on what's going on. just look to the side and see what else is going on. I was thinking, oh, well, you know, my life's going to be over there. It's not going to be over here anymore. And make your own reality that way.
I love that. That makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
So we're taking everything a little bit too seriously then, huh?
Yes, entirely too seriously. But it's it's hard not to. I mean, you know, I agree. It's hard not to. But
now, I want to get into, because you said 5 evolutions of the planet. We're on our 5th evolution.
we're on the 5th.
So what is, if we're going to go into the 6th, how does that transpire? Is it totally different from the 5th?
Well, no, we're not quite ready to go into the 6th. We're
Okay.
still in the 5th. The 6th, I'm not sure what the 6th will be, but the 5th is what we're living in now. The 4th incarnation was actually the Atlantis Incarnation.
Oh, cool.
Which I'm writing a book about now.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. All the information I'm getting about that is really cool. But in the Atlantis Incarnation, there was no veil. In other words, we came here to live this life, but we're still totally connected to the other side. So they did that for a while, and they got bored with it. And that's the problem with now. We're just bored with this. So they got bored with that life. So they decided to come up with a life where we would come here, would be born here, grow up, and just have very minimal connection to the other side, unless, you know, we chose to be spiritually awakened. So that's the incarnation we're in right now. We have limited contact with the other side. But during the Atlantis Incarnation, it was really cool. The things we could do, because there was no veil. We were connected to the other side. You know, we had telepathy and we had all these things that we lost, or rather gave up, so we could play this game because we thought this would be fun. And, you know, it's fun-ish.
Fun-ish. Yeah, but that sounds like a fascinating book.
Yeah. I hope
really does.
Next year sometime, I hope that.
So my sister was told that she was reincarnated from Atlantis.
Mm-hmm.
And she has a birthmark that shows that, yeah, this is correct. But she's very on the psychic side.
Mm-hmm.
And it just sort of rings true with everything you said. There is a natural knowing of life and beyond. Right. And she seems to have brought that with her. It's so fascinating. Yeah, because she's always felt that she lived on Atlantis.
Yeah, a lot of us did. I think I had 2 or 3 lives there. But a lot of people that had lives then are here now, because the transition is similar to the new game we're going to be playing. But it's not going to be, you know, people are going to be more spiritually aware. We're not going to lose the veil, because then there's no reason to come here, actually. You could just stay on the other side. Yeah,
right. Well, we still got to learn.
Yeah, so people that are, you know, I think the term light workers is thrown around a little too loosely, but people that are light workers are people that have had many incarnations, and a lot of them in Atlantis. So that they were there for that incarnation change, and they're here for this change.
Wow, this is so fascinating. I mean, I could talk to you for hours and hours. I just love this. Look, I've got to have you back on the show, because we've got to just bring out more goodies.
Okay.
This is fascinating. I know my listeners are going to go gaga over this. It seems so right. You can feel it. You can feel it. This is it.
You know, I've been getting, 7 years of information from him. I needed to share it. You know, it's ridiculous for me to hold on to it and not put it out there for people that could benefit from it.
Yeah, I think there's so much that we can all benefit, but I especially think right now the biggest message is that everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And not to worry.
Yeah.
That's the best message of all.
Yeah. When we have next time, when we have more time, we'll talk about time. You know, time in this dimension is strictly linear. You know, it's today, it's tomorrow, it's next week. But that only exists on this planet. There is no time in the universe. So that's what they're saying. This has already happened. It's already done. So why are you worrying about it? It's already done. It's just let it go. Just go with the flow and watch what happens.
Holy cow. This is good information. Well, Dave, thank you so much. Thank you, Jasper. This is fun. You're going to come back on because there's a whole bunch of other things. I'm going to suggest that listeners out there, if you have any questions, send them my way and let me ask. And I'll send them to you, Dave, so that you can talk to Jasper about it. But, this is the information that we need right now more than ever.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the ticket.
Good. I'm glad it was good for you.
Oh, it's wonderful. Vibrationally, you can feel it. And that's what's so powerful about this. Is one of my favorites because I can feel it. It's very powerful.
That's great. And don't be afraid to talk to Melinda.
Oh, yes. Yes, I will. I will start doing that immediately. So thank you, Dave, Jasper. Thank you so much for taking the time. And we're going to have you back on real soon.
Okay. Thanks for having me. I loved it.
I loved it too.
Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next week with another great show from Law of Attraction Talk Radio. If you'd like to comment on tonight's show, send an email to jules@loaradionetwork.com and have a great week.